movie is Companion, which was written and directed by Hancock. This sci-fi thriller film follows Iris and Josh, a young couple heading to a getaway with friends, staying at an extravagant and luxurious but highly remote lake house. The picturesque weekend quickly unravels into bloody chaos after someone is killed, and the group finds out that one of the guests among them is not a human at all, but a companion robot. The robot then must fight to survive, ultimately willing to do anything to avoid being turned off. This movie was awesome. It was a new original take on the humanoid robot subgenre that was sharply written, well acted, and surprisingly funny. As always, I'll try my best to avoid spoilers, but it is a little bit unavoidable with this film, so if you do want to go in completely blind, I recommend you pause the video here and come back after you watch the film. In the film, and honestly in the trailer, depending on which one you watch, you find out that Josh's girlfriend, Iris, is a robot, which isn't that hard to see coming. But what is completely unexpected is the plot that follows after the realization that she's a robot. There are countless movies that feature an android or robot, and for most of these movies, the robot is used in very similar ways. What I liked about this movie is that they just went a totally different direction than you'd probably expect. And as I was watching, I couldn't help but think, it's kind of crazy that no one had made a film with a concept quite like this before. Hancock's well-written screenplay manages to subvert most of the common overused tropes that you tend to see in this type of movie. I especially liked how the filmmakers imagined what reality would actually look like if people really had these hyper-realistic robotic romantic partners. They very clearly thought about it from an operational perspective, like what would the delivery and initial setup of the robot be like? And from a functional perspective, like what features would they have and how could you customize them, as well as how you'd interact with them on a daily basis. As I mentioned earlier, this was a surprisingly funny movie. Going into it, I didn't anticipate it being comedic really at all, given the trailer and the marketing behind it, but it was a super funny script, and I found myself laughing out loud a lot during this movie. It did a great job of not taking itself too seriously, and using humor to balance out some of the more absurd aspects of the movie. Sophie Thatcher is phenomenal in this too. In the movie, she has this vocal cadence that is just incredibly neutral and perfect, to the point that it lacks a lot of the range that most people have in their daily conversations, and it just very subtly clues you into the fact that she's not a human. I also noticed that she even altered the way she walks for the movie. You'll see as you watch that her footsteps are all perfectly even, with her feet landing in precisely the same delicate and intentional way each time she takes a step. Quaid was really great too. I've only seen him play this likable, funny, kind of goofy guy, and he was that to a degree in this movie, but he also has another much uglier side to him that he just portrayed so well. There are plenty of twists and turns in this movie, and I think for the most part, you won't be able to guess how this one shakes out. The only critique I have is that there's maybe a couple of plot holes, but honestly, they're so minor, they're not worth going into detail about. And honestly, this movie is just an all-around great watch. I'll also say I've heard this being called a horror movie, and while there are definitely some elements of horror within it, it's not really scary at all, despite being gory. So just to say that if you are going into this expecting to be scared or expecting a true horror film, you're probably going to be somewhat disappointed in that regard. Overall, this was a super fun, great movie. So if you're looking for a bloody, funny, fresh take on the sci-fi genre, I absolutely recommend you go out and see this one in theaters. This is a wonderfully thrilling movie with an original screenplay and awesome acting that I really enjoyed overall. So go watch Companion. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it with your friends, and add a comment letting me know what movie you think I should review next or what you thought of this movie, and subscribe to my channel. I put out a movie review each week, so subscribe to stay tuned. Thanks, y'all.